You have 10 seconds to prove you're not a threat. The system is watching your face right now. 43 muscle groups. Tracked in real time. If your eyebrow twitches wrong, the algorithm flags you. If your jaw clenches for 11 minutes, the lights turn purple. This isn't a documentary about a prison. This is a survival manual. Because in Osaka Detention House, your body is evidence. Your face is a confession. Your silence is the only thing keeping you alive. Biometric erasure. Absolute silence. Hostage justice. Welcome to February 2026. Here's the deal. Japan just replaced 117 years of prison labor with something called Rehabilitative Penalty. Sounds progressive. It's not. Now, instead of making furniture, they rewire how you think. AI emotion mapping. Skeleton detection CCTV. Voice stress sensors. The cameras don't just watch you. They study you. Your gait. Your posture. Your heartbeat. If you slouch more than 15 degrees, a buzzer sounds in your ear. If you speak during a meal, a digital strike delays your parole. If you look a guard in the eyes, you're flagged as confrontational. This is Osaka. This is 2026. This is real. And here's the moral question you need to answer right now. This prison has 0 suicides. 3 violent incidents. 98% compliance. The streets outside have never been safer. But inside, inmates lose the ability to feel anger. To grieve. To speak. Their brains are rewired. Their bodies are weakened. Their identities are erased. So ask yourself, is a society without crime worth a prison that deletes the person? Because that's the trade. And it's already happening. You're about to see the 3 survival rules that keep you alive. You're about to see the shadow economy built on postage stamps. You're about to see what happens when a human being becomes a data point. But you need to decide something first. Are you watching this to understand? Or are you watching this to judge? Because by the end of this video, you'll have to choose. Day 1. You arrive in a van. Hands cuffed. Ankle restraints. The building doesn't look like a prison from the outside. It looks like a concrete office block. Forgettable. That's intentional. Osaka Detention House was designed to disappear. No barbed wire on the roof. No guard towers. Just cameras. Hundreds of them. You're escorted through a side entrance. Steel door. Airlock system. The door behind you locks before the door in front of you opens. Never 2 doors open at once. This is biometric erasure. The moment you step inside, your old identity stops existing. First stop, the processing bay. You're told to strip. Everything. Clothing goes into a clear plastic bag with a barcode. You won't see those clothes again for months. Maybe years. A guard hands you the uniform. Light blue cotton. 2 pieces. Shirt and pants. High collar. No pockets. Here's why there are no pockets. Pockets allow you to carry things. Notes. Stamps. Messages. In Osaka, information is contraband. A handwritten note can buy you 30 days in solitary. The fabric itself is a control mechanism. It's deliberately stiff. Friction heavy. When you walk, it makes a sound. Shitties. The guards hear you coming. The AI microphones hear you moving in your cell at night. You are never silent. But you are never allowed to speak. The photograph. You stand against a white wall. A camera on a tripod. Digital. High resolution. But this isn't just a mugshot. The camera is connected to the AI emotion mapping system. It's recording your baseline facial structure. Your neutral expression. The distance between your eyes. The angle of your jaw. Every day for the next 6 months, the system will compare your face to this baseline. If your expression shifts too far, anger, fear, desperation, the system flags you. And here's the thing nobody tells you. The algorithm doesn't just track your face. It tracks micro-expressions. The tiny muscle movements you can't control. You can't even hide your thoughts. Then comes the number. In Osaka, you don't have a name anymore. You have a 7-digit number. Example, 2614-073. The first 4 digits are your intake year and month. The last 3 are your sequence number. You will shout this number every time you pass through the choke point. Every time a guard addresses you. Every time you receive mail. Your name is archived. Stored in a database. But inside these walls, it doesn't exist. Here's your first survival rule. Survival rule number 1. Memorize your number in the first hour. Say it out loud 100 times. Because if you hesitate when a guard asks for it, they assume you're lying. And liars go to Saiza. Saiza. We'll get to that. After processing, you're given your cell assignment. Block C, cell 47. You're escorted down a long corridor. This is where you learn the second rule. Survival rule number 2, the heel stare walk. When moving in a line, you stare at the heels of the person in front of you. Not the floor. Not the walls. Not the horizon. Just the heels. If you lift your eyes, the guards assume you're studying the facility layout. Mapping exits. Planning escape. The punishment? Immediate solitary. And here's the technical reason this works. The cameras in the ceiling don't just record video. They use skeleton detection CCTV. They track 22 points on your body in real time. Your head, your shoulders, your spine, your knees. If your head tilts up more than 8 degrees, the system logs it. 3 logs in one day? You're flagged as a risk. You arrive at cell 47. The door slides open. Steel. Automated. Inside, 6 feet wide. 8 feet deep. A sleeping mat on a raised concrete platform. A sink. A toilet. A plastic bucket. That's it. The walls are smooth concrete. No windows. Just a single recessed LED light in the ceiling. And a camera. Always a camera. The door closes behind you. Magnetic lock. You hear it click. This is your home now. Here's what the orientation video doesn't tell you. The light in your cell is controlled by the AI emotion mapping system. If the system detects excessive anger on your face for more than 10 minutes, the light changes. It dims. And it shifts to deep purple. Purple light. Not red. Not blue. Purple. Studies show that purple light at a specific wavelength suppresses cortisol production. It chemically calms you, but it also destroys your circadian rhythm. After 3 days under purple light, you lose track of time. You can't tell if it's morning or midnight. This is the sensory void. And here's the terrifying part. The system decides when the light turns purple. Not the guards. The algorithm. If your face looks angry, the machine punishes you. No trial. No appeal. Just purple. Your first night, you don't sleep. You can't. The silence is too loud. In Osaka Detention House, there is no ambient noise. No ventilation hum. No footsteps from other cells. The walls are lined with sound-dampening acoustic panels. The same technology used in recording studios. Every sound you make is isolated, amplified, recorded. If you cough, the AI logs it. If you shift on your mat, the pressure sensors in the floor detect it. You are being studied, measured, optimized. And here's the question nobody asks. If a prison can hear everything, see everything, measure everything, what's left to control? Morning comes. You don't know when. There are no windows in your cell. No clock. No natural light. A buzzer sounds. Electronic. Chirp. That's your wake-up call. You have 4 minutes to fold your sleeping mat, use the toilet, and stand at attention by your door. If you're not ready when the door opens, you go to Siza. Survival rule number 3, the rule of the gaze. When a guard addresses you, you stare at the third button on their shirt. Not their eyes. Not the floor. The third button. Eyes equals aggressive intent. Floor equals deception. Third button equals compliance. This isn't written in any manual, but every inmate learns it in the first 48 hours. Because the guards wear body cameras. And the AI analyzes your eye line in real time. If you stare at a guard's face for more than 3 seconds, the system flags you as confrontational. 3 flags in 1 week? Solitary. Breakfast. You're escorted to the dining hall. Single file. Heel stare walk. The hall is massive. 200 seats. Long metal tables. Bolted to the floor. You sit where you're told. You don't choose. A tray is placed in front of you. Stainless steel. Divided into 3 sections. Section 1, mujimeshi. Barley rice. Section 2, miso soup. Thin. No tofu. No seaweed. Section 3, tsukmeno. Pickled radish. 2 slices. That's it. Every morning. For years. And here's the rule. You eat in complete silence. No talking. No eye contact. No sounds except the scrape of chopsticks on metal. If you speak, even a whisper, a guard activates a small device clipped to your collar. It's called the compliance buzzer. It emits a high-frequency tone. Painful. Disorienting. And it triggers a digital strike on your record. After breakfast, you return to your cell. You wait. For what? Work assignment. In Osaka, every inmate is assigned a factory task. Envelope folding. Toy assembly. Stamp sorting. The work is mind-numbing. Repetitive. designed to occupy your hands and exhaust your brain. But here's the hidden system. Your work performance is tied to your privileges. If you meet your daily quota, you earn stamps. Not postage stamps. Work stamps. These stamps are converted into 84 yen postage stamps. Real currency. And that's when the shadow economy begins. But before we talk about the economy, you need to understand the punishment. Because the punishment is what makes the system work. Saiza. You kneel on a concrete floor. Heels tucked under you. Back straight. Hands on thighs. For 6 hours. No movement. No breaks. No water. If your big toes don't overlap, right over left, the timer restarts. This is the punishment for minor infractions. Folding your blanket incorrectly. Speaking during meals. Missing your work quota by even 1 unit. And here's the biological reality. After 2 hours, your legs go numb. After 4 hours, nerve damage begins. After 6 hours, some inmates can't walk for days. But the system doesn't care about your body. It cares about compliance. So here's what you learn in the first 24 hours. Your name is gone. Your face is data. Your body is monitored. You cannot speak. You cannot look up. You cannot even feel angry without the machine knowing. This is Osaka Detention House in 2026. A prison built on silence. Powered by algorithms. Controlled by light. And the worst part? You haven't even met the other inmates yet. Because that's where the real survival begins. Week 2. You've learned the rules. You've memorized your number. You've survived your first Saiza punishment. Now you need to understand the real prison. Not the one the guards control. The one the inmates built. Because here's what the orientation manual doesn't tell you. Osaka Detention House has 2 governments. The official one, guards, wardens, AI systems. And the invisible one, the factory leaders. The factory leaders are inmates who've been inside for 10, 15, sometimes 20 years. They've survived every punishment. They know every guard rotation. They've memorized every camera blind spot. And most importantly, they control the stamp banks. Remember the currency? 84 yen postage stamps. You earn them by meeting your work quota. 5 stamps for folding 500 envelopes. 10 stamps for assembling 200 wooden toys. But here's the trap. You can't just keep your stamps. Because the factory leaders collect insurance. Here's how it works. Every week, a factory leader approaches you during work detail. No words. Just a gesture. Hand out. Palm up. You give them stamps. Usually 2. Sometimes 5. If you refuse, nothing happens immediately. But the next day, your workbench is sabotaged. Maybe your envelope glue is watered down. Maybe your toy parts are scratched. Maybe your counting sheet goes missing. You fail your quota. And when you fail your quota, the guards send you to Saiza. 6 hours. Concrete floor. Big toes overlapped. After that you pay. But the stamps aren't just protection money. They're currency. Real trade. Here's the exchange rate. 5 stamps, $2.80, 1 extra serving of mujimeshi. Barley rice. Not much, but when you're hungry, it's everything. 20 stamps, $11, a laundry favor. Someone else scrubs your uniform. This matters more than you'd think. Because the uniform fabric is friction heavy. When you walk, it makes that sh sound. But if you scrub the fabric hard enough, really beat it against concrete, the fibers soften. The sound gets quieter. Quieter fabric means you can move in your cell at night without the AI microphones hearing you. And that gives you one thing the system tries to take away. Privacy. 50 stamps, $28 a message relay. This is dangerous. Highly illegal. But it happens every day. You write a note on a scrap of paper. Smaller than your palm. You fold it into a tiny square. You pass it to a factory leader during work detail. Concealed in your hand. No eye contact. That night, the note moves through the blocks. Cell to cell. Inmate to inmate. Within 48 hours, it reaches the person you're trying to contact. Maybe it's a family member in another wing. Maybe it's a co-defendant awaiting trial. The content doesn't matter. What matters is this. If a guard finds the note, everyone in the relay chain goes to solitary for 30 days. But people still pay. Because sometimes a message is worth more than freedom. 100 stamps, $56 a phone call. Not official. Not legal. Here's how it works. Once a month, a specific guard, let's call him Guard 7, works the night shift in Block C. Guard 7 has been there for 14 years. He's 3 years from retirement. And he's part of the system. If you pay 100 stamps to a factory leader, they pass the payment to Guard 7. The next night, during the 2 a.m. guard rotation, Guard 7 unlocks your cell. He escorts you to a storage closet on the 3rd floor. There's a phone. Corded. Connected to an external line that doesn't appear on the prison's telecom logs. You get 5 minutes. Guard 7 stands outside. If another guard approaches, he knocks twice. You hang up immediately. This is the ghost protocol. It doesn't exist in any official record. But every inmate knows about it. And here's the thing about the shadow economy. The guards know. They've always known. But they allow it. Because the stamp system does something official punishment can't. It keeps inmates quiet. If you're saving stamps for an extra meal, you're not planning escape. If you're working overtime to afford a laundry favor, you're compliant. The shadow economy is a pressure valve. It gives inmates just enough control to prevent total rebellion. And the factory leaders? They're not revolutionaries. They're middle management. But there's a second layer to the hierarchy. The specialists. These are inmates with skills. Rare skills. Forgers. Translators. Medics. In a system where official medical care is minimal, a specialist can save your life. Example. You develop an infected tooth. The pain is unbearable. You submit a medical request form. The official process takes 6 to 8 weeks. But if you know a medic, an inmate who used to be a dental assistant before conviction, he can see you in 2 days. Cost? 30 stamps. He has no tools. No anesthesia. No sterile equipment. But he can drain the infection with a sharpened plastic spoon and iodine smuggled from the infirmary. Is it dangerous? Is it better than waiting 2 months in agony? Also yes. Then there are the translators. Osaka Detention House holds inmates from 14 different countries. Chinese, Vietnamese, Brazilian, Nigerian, American. Not everyone speaks Japanese. And the official translators provided by the court system? They visit once a month. For 15 minutes. If you need to understand a legal document, a family letter, or a guard's instructions, you need an inmate translator. Cost? Depends on complexity. A simple letter, 5 stamps. A legal contract, 50 stamps. Testimony prep for trial, 200 stamps. The translators are the most protected inmates in the facility. Because everyone needs them eventually. Even the factory leaders. And then there's the rarest role. The archivist. Every prison has one. The archivist is an inmate who memorizes everything. Guard schedules. Camera blind spots. Which cells have faulty microphones. Which factory leaders can be trusted. Which specialists are reliable. The archivist doesn't write anything down. Too dangerous. Everything is stored in memory. If you need information, you pay the archivist in stamps. He tells you once. Quietly. During a work break. You don't get to ask twice. Cost varies. Guard rotation schedule, 10 stamps. Camera blind spot map, 30 stamps. Ghost protocol contact, 100 stamps. The current archivist in Osaka is an inmate named 2401-019. He's been inside for 9 years. Conviction, embezzlement. Before prison, he was a data analyst. Now, he's the most valuable inmate in the facility. But here's the question you should be asking. If the shadow economy is so organized, why doesn't anyone escape? The answer is simple. Nobody wants to. Not because they're broken, but because the punishment for failed escape is worse than life inside. In 2024, an inmate in Block A attempted escape during a medical transport. He made it 200 meters outside the facility. He was caught within 11 minutes. His punishment? 180 days in digital solitary. No human contact. No natural light. No books. No mail. Just a 6x8 cell. Purple light. AI emotion mapping running 24/7. After 90 days, he started talking to the walls. After 120 days, he stopped eating. After 180 days, when they released him back to general population, he couldn't remember his own name. He remembered his number. 2311 to 104. But not his name. So the inmates don't escape. They adapt. They build systems within the system. They trade stamps. They protect specialists. They memorize the archivist's knowledge. And they wait. Because in Osaka Detention House, time is the only thing you own. And the only thing you can't trade. But there's one more layer to this hierarchy. The enforcers. Not the guards. Not the factory leaders. The ghosts. These are inmates who've been inside so long, they've learned how to manipulate the AI. They know exactly how to stand so the skeletal detection system can't track them. They know which vocal tones bypass the voice stress sensors. They move through the facility like shadows. And if a factory leader needs someone dealt with, someone who's refusing to pay, someone who's talking to guards, someone who's breaking the code, the ghosts handle it. How do the ghosts punish someone? Not with violence. Too obvious. Too loud. They sabotage. Your workbench? Tools go missing. Your cell? Water supply gets cut for a day. Your meal tray? Food arrives cold or doesn't arrive at all. Small disruptions. Untraceable. But enough to make you fail. Enough to send you to Siza. Enough to break you. And the message is clear. Pay the insurance. Respect the hierarchy. Or disappear into the system. So here's what you need to understand. The real prison isn't the walls. It's the economy. The stamps. The favors. That is, every inmate is connected. Every transaction is recorded in memory. Every favor is a chain. And the moment you accept help, you're part of the system. You owe someone. And in Osaka, debt never expires. But here's the puzzle piece you're missing. Why do the guards allow this? Why does the administration let the factory leaders run the stamp economy? The answer is in the data. In 2023, before the shadow economy was fully established, Osaka had 47 violent incidents. In 2025, after the stamp system became dominant, 3 incidents. The economy pacifies. It gives inmates a reason to comply. And compliance is the only thing the system truly wants. So ask yourself, would you pay? Would you trade your stamps for silence, for safety, for a 5-minute phone call? Or would you resist? And if you resisted, how long would you last? Because the hierarchy doesn't just control resources. It controls hope. And hope, in Osaka Detention House, costs exactly 84 yen. Month 3. You've adapted. You've learned the hierarchy. You've paid your stamps. But your body is starting to change. Not from disease. Not from injury. From the system itself. Because Osaka Detention House doesn't just control your behavior. It controls your biology. And this is where the moral question begins. When does discipline become torture? When does order become erasure? When does a prison stop rehabilitating and start deleting the person inside? Let's start with sleep. Or the lack of it. In Osaka, you don't sleep on a schedule you choose. You sleep when the system allows it. The LED light in your cell is controlled remotely. It doesn't turn off at a set time. It turns off when the AI emotion mapping system determines you're psychologically stable. If your face shows stress, anxiety, or anger during the evening scan, the light stays on. Bright white. All night. The official reason? To ensure inmate safety and prevent self-harm. The real reason? Sleep deprivation is a control mechanism. Studies show that after 7 days of disrupted sleep, cognitive function drops by 30%. After 14 days, you start experiencing hallucinations. After 30 days, your immune system begins to fail. The longest recorded stretch of denied sleep in Osaka? 19 consecutive nights. The inmate, 2505-062, was flagged by the AI for persistent agitation. Every night, the facial scan detected microexpressions of anger. Every night, the light stayed on. By day 12, he was talking to shadows. By day 19, he collapsed during work detail. They sent him to the medical wing. Diagnosed with exhaustion. No mention of the AI. No mention of the light protocol. Just exhaustion. Then there's the food. We already talked about the meals. Mujimeshi. Miso soup. Pickled radish. But here's what we didn't mention. The caloric intake. Official prison guidelines state that inmates should receive 2,100 calories per day. But in Osaka, the average measured intake is 1,600 calories. Why the gap? Portion control is automated. A machine dispenses the rice. A machine ladles the soup. A machine counts the radish slices. And the machine is programmed to optimize resource allocation. Translation, they underfeed you by 500 calories a day. Not enough to trigger a legal complaint, but enough to keep you weak. And here's the biological effect. After 3 months on 1,600 calories, your muscle mass starts to degrade. After 6 months, your metabolism slows. Your body enters conservation mode. You move slower. You think slower. You become compliant. Not because you've been rehabilitated, because you're too weak to resist. And this raises the question, is this discipline, or is this starvation in slow motion? The administration would say, Inmates receive nutritionally adequate meals. Nutritionally adequate. Not sufficient. Adequate. Just enough to survive. Not enough to thrive. Then there's exercise. Officially, inmates are allowed 30 minutes of outdoor exercise per day. But outdoor is a relative term. The exercise yard is a concrete box. 40 feet by 40 feet. Surrounded by 20-foot walls. No grass. No trees. No sky. Just a square of open air at the top. You walk in circles. Alone. No talking. No interaction. The cameras track your gait. The sensors measure your heart rate. If your heart rate exceeds 140 BPM, a buzzer sounds. You must stop. To prevent cardiovascular incidents. But here's the real reason. They don't want you getting stronger. Exercise builds muscle. Muscle builds confidence. Confidence builds resistance. So they limit it. And if you try to exercise in your cell, push-ups, sit-ups, squats, the pressure sensors in the floor detect the movement. The AI flags it as unusual activity. 3 flags? You're interrogated. 6 flags? Solitary. Because in Osaka, your body is not your own. It's state property. And the state decides how strong you're allowed to be. But the most invasive control isn't physical. It's psychological. The AI emotion mapping system. We mentioned it before. But now you need to understand how it actually works. Every cell has a camera. That camera is connected to facial recognition software. The software doesn't just identify you. It reads your face. Specifically, it tracks 43 facial muscle groups in real time. When you're angry, certain muscles contract. When you're sad, others relax. The system knows the difference. And it doesn't just observe. It responds. Here's the protocol. If the system detects anger above 30% for more than 10 minutes, the cell light dims to purple. If sadness exceeds 60% for more than 30 minutes, a wellness check is triggered. A guard visits your cell. You're required to speak, to explain your emotional state. If you refuse to speak, digital strike. If you lie and the voice stress sensor detects deception, Seiza. You cannot feel without permission. You cannot grieve in private. Even your face is a violation. And here's where the moral autopsy begins. The administration argues, this system prevents suicide. It protects inmates from self-harm. And statistically, they're right. Osaka Detention House has one of the lowest suicide rates in Japan's prison system. In 2025, 0 suicides. In 2024, 1. Compare that to other facilities. Some report 8 to 12 per year. So the system works. But at what cost? Because the AI doesn't just prevent suicide. It prevents grief. It prevents anger. It prevents the full range of human emotion. And if you can't feel, can't mourn, can't rage, are you still human? Or have you become something else? Then there's the Seiza protocol. We've mentioned it multiple times. But now you need to see the biological damage. Kneeling for 6 hours on concrete. Here's what happens to the body. Hour 1, discomfort. Muscle strain. Manageable. Hour 2, numbness begins. Blood flow to the lower legs is restricted. Hour 3, nerve compression. The peroneal nerve, which runs along the outer calf, begins to sustain damage. Hour 4, loss of sensation. You can't feel your feet. Hour 5, tissue damage. Prolonged pressure causes ischemia, oxygen deprivation to muscle tissue. Hour 6, permanent effects. Some inmates develop foot drop. Others lose feeling in their toes for months. This isn't discipline. This is biological punishment. In 2024, an inmate, 2,402 to 118, was sentenced to Seiza for failing his work quota by 14 units. He knelt for 6 hours. When he stood, his left foot wouldn't move. Foot drop. Permanent nerve damage. He filed a medical complaint. The response from the administration. The disciplinary action was within legal guidelines. The inmate's pre-existing health conditions may have contributed to the outcome. Pre-existing conditions. He was 34 years old. No prior health issues. But the system blamed him. Not the punishment. Not the protocol. And then there's the silence. The zero communication order. No talking during meals. No talking during work. No talking during exercise. On the surface, this seems like a behavioral rule. But it's also a biological attack. Because humans are social animals. We need language. We need connection. We need voices. Studies show that prolonged social isolation causes measurable brain changes. The prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for decision-making and empathy, begins to shrink. The amygdala, the fear center, becomes hyperactive. After 6 months of enforced silence, inmates show symptoms identical to solitary confinement, even though they're surrounded by people. This is the paradox. Osaka Detention House is designed to rehabilitate, to reintegrate inmates back into society. But how do you reintegrate someone who's been neurologically altered? How do you teach empathy to someone whose empathy center has atrophied? How do you restore social skills to someone who hasn't spoken in 2 years? The administration doesn't answer this question, because the system isn't designed for reintegration. It's designed for control. And control, in 2026, means erasing the parts of you that resist. Your anger, your grief, your voice, your body, until what's left isn't a rehabilitated person. It's a compliant shell. So here's the moral question. Is this justice? Is this safety? Or is this something darker? Because the data says the system works. Fewer suicides, fewer violent incidents, higher compliance rates. But the cost is invisible. It's written in the neurons that stop firing, in the muscles that atrophy, in the voices that forget how to speak. And if we accept this system, if we say, it's effective, so it's justified, then what are we saying about humanity? What are we saying about the value of a person? Because here's what the numbers don't show. The inmate who can no longer recognize his own daughter's voice because he hasn't spoken in 18 months. The inmate who flinches every time someone looks at him because he's been trained to stare at buttons, not faces. The inmate who can't sleep in darkness because he's spent 2 years under purple light. These aren't statistics. These are people. And the system is rewriting them. Not with rehabilitation. With erasure. So ask yourself, if a prison can reduce suicide to 0, but only by removing the capacity to feel despair, is that prevention? Or is that deletion? And if we build systems that measure compliance instead of recovery, that prioritize order over humanity, that turn bodies into data and emotions into violations, what have we created? A prison? Or a factory for erasing souls? Month 6. You've survived the intake. You've navigated the hierarchy. You've endured the biological regime. Now comes the part nobody talks about. The legal system that put you here doesn't care if you ever leave. Because in Japan's criminal justice system, there's a concept that doesn't translate well into English. Deo Kengoku. Substitute prison. It means you can be held indefinitely before trial. Not for days. Not for weeks. For years. And during that time, you exist in a legal black hole. Here's how it works. You're arrested. You're brought to Osaka Detention House. You haven't been convicted. You're awaiting trial. But the trial doesn't start. The prosecution requests an extension. The judge grants it. 30 days becomes 60. 60 becomes 90. In some cases, inmates wait 18 months for their first court appearance. During that entire time, you're treated exactly like a convicted prisoner. Same uniform. Same rules. Same silence. Same AI monitoring. Same size of punishments. You're presumed innocent. But the system treats you like you've already been sentenced. And here's the trap. If you're held for 18 months before trial, and then convicted and sentenced to 2 years, you've already served most of your sentence. But those 18 months of pretrial detention, they don't always count as time served. Because technically, you weren't serving a sentence. You were being detained for investigative purposes. So in some cases, your sentence starts after your trial, meaning you could spend 18 months in Osaka waiting for trial, then get sentenced to 2 years, and still have 2 full years remaining. Total time inside, 42 months. Sentence, 24 months. The math doesn't add up, but the law allows it. Then there's the confession system. In Japan, the conviction rate is 99.8%. Not because the police are extraordinarily competent, but because the system is designed to extract confessions. And Osaka Detention House is part of that machine. Here's the process. You're arrested. You're brought to Osaka. Every day, detectives visit you. Interrogation sessions. 2 hours. Sometimes 4. No lawyer present. That's legal in Japan. You sit in a windowless room. Concrete walls. Single table. Recording device. The detective asks the same questions. Over and over. Did you do it? Why did you do it? Tell us what happened. You say, I didn't do it. The detective writes that down. Then asks again. But if you did do it, how would it have happened? This goes on for hours. And here's the psychological tactic. You're already sleep-deprived from the AI light protocol. You're already malnourished from the 1,600-calorie diet. You're already neurologically compromised from enforced silence. Your resistance is gone. So eventually you say something. Not a confession. Just a hypothetical. If I did it, maybe it would have been like this. The detective writes it down. That hypothetical becomes evidence. And that evidence becomes your conviction. In 2025, an inmate, 2501-091, was held in Osaka for 14 months before trial. Charged with theft. 80,000 yen, $530. During interrogations, he repeatedly denied involvement. But after 8 months of detention, he said, "If I took the money, I probably would have used it for rent." That statement was used as a confession. He was convicted. Sentenced to 18 months. He'd already served 14. He was released 4 months later. But his record shows a conviction. Not a dismissal. Not an acquittal. A confession-based conviction. For a crime he never admitted to committing. And then there's the appeal process. In theory, you can appeal your conviction. In practice, appeals almost never succeed. Because the appeal is reviewed by the same court system that convicted you. The same judges. The same prosecutors. And in Japan's legal culture, overturning a conviction is seen as questioning the competence of the original court. It's not just a legal decision. It's a matter of institutional faith. So appeals are denied. Not because the evidence is strong, but because admitting error would damage the system's credibility. But here's the darkest part. The ghost inmates. These are people who've been inside Osaka for so long, there's no record of why they're still there. They've served their sentence. They've completed their time. But they haven't been released. Because of bureaucratic errors. Lost paperwork. Database glitches. And because no one checked. In 2023, an audit discovered an inmate, 2398-041, who had been held for 9 months beyond his release date. 9 months. He should have been free. But the system forgot about him. And he didn't know he could challenge it because he'd been conditioned into silence. He didn't speak. He didn't ask. He didn't resist. He just waited. So here's what the legal black hole looks like. You can be held for years before trial. You can be convicted based on hypothetical statements. Your appeals will almost certainly be denied. And even if you serve your time, the system might forget to release you. At every stage, the law is designed to favor the institution. Not the individual. Not justice. The institution. And Osaka Detention House is the physical manifestation of that philosophy. But let's zoom out. Because Osaka isn't unique. This is happening in prisons across Japan. Across the world. The tools change. The technology evolves. AI emotion mapping. Skeleton detection CCTV. Gait analysis sensors. But the goal remains the same. Control. Compliance. Erasure of resistance. And in 2026, we've reached a tipping point. Because the technology is now advanced enough to make resistance invisible. You can't rebel if the system reads your face. You can't organize if you can't speak. You can't resist if your body is too weak. The prison of the future doesn't need walls. It just needs sensors. And here's the question we need to ask. Is this the future we want? A justice system that prioritizes data over dignity? A rehabilitation model that erases emotion instead of addressing it? A legal framework that protects institutions instead of individuals? Because the technology exists. It's already deployed. Osaka Detention House is operational right now. The AI is running. The sensors are tracking. The purple lights are glowing. And if we don't ask these questions, if we just accept the metrics, the compliance rates, the efficiency, then we've already chosen. We've chosen control over freedom. We've chosen order over humanity. We've chosen the machine over the person. So what happens next? That depends on you. Not you, the inmate. You, the person watching this. Because this documentary isn't just information. It's a test. When you learned about the AI emotion mapping, did you think, that's efficient? Or did you think, that's horrifying? When you saw the data on reduced suicide rates, did you think, the system works? Or did you think, at what cost? Your answer matters. Because the technology in Osaka will spread. It's already being studied by prison systems in 14 countries. AI-assisted incarceration. Predictive compliance modeling. Biometric rehabilitation. The terms sound progressive. But the reality is Osaka. And here's the final piece of the puzzle. The inmates aren't the only ones being watched. In February 2026, leaked documents revealed that Osaka's AI system has a secondary function. It's not just monitoring inmates. It's training. Every facial expression, every vocal pattern, every gait signature. All of that data is being fed into a machine learning model. And that model is being sold to private companies. For what? Employee monitoring, student behavior analysis, public surveillance systems. The prison is a laboratory, and the inmates are test subjects. Their data, their faces, their voices, their movements is being commodified, sold to the highest bidder, without consent, without compensation, without them even knowing. So let's trace the full circle. You commit a crime, or you're accused of one. You're sent to Osaka. You're stripped of your name, your voice, your emotions. You're monitored by AI. Your body is weakened. Your brain is altered. You serve your time, or you wait in legal limbo. And when you finally leave, if you leave, your data stays behind. Your face, your voice, your suffering, all of it converted into training data for the next generation of surveillance. You're released, but you never really escape, because part of you, the data version of you, remains in the system forever. So here's what we're left with. Osaka Detention House is the most advanced prison in the world. It's also the most dehumanizing. It prevents suicide, but it also prevents grief. It reduces violence, but it also reduces personhood. It's efficient. It's data-driven. It's measurable. And it's morally bankrupt. Because a system that treats humans as data points isn't a justice system. It's a processing plant. And if we accept this, if we prioritize metrics over meaning, then we've redefined what it means to punish. We've redefined what it means to rehabilitate. We've redefined what it means to be human. And here's the uncomfortable truth. This isn't science fiction. This is February 2026. This is Osaka. This is real. The AI is operational. The sensors are active. The purple lights are installed. Inmates are kneeling in Caesar right now. Inmates are staring at buttons right now. Inmates are eating 1,600 calories right now. And their faces are being scanned. Their emotions are being mapped. Their bodies are being tracked. All in the name of order. All in the name of safety. All in the name of a system that has forgotten what it was supposed to protect. Humanity. So now you know. You know about the zero communication order. You know about the stamp economy. You know about the AI that reads your face. You know about Caesar. About purple light. About skeletal tracking. You know about the legal black hole. You know about the data harvesting. You know everything. And here's the only question that matters. What are you going to do with this knowledge? Are you going to close this video and move on? Are you going to share it? Debate it? Investigate further? Or are you going to let this information sit in your brain like it sat in Osaka's cells? Silent, monitored, controlled. Because the truth is, systems like Osaka exist because we allow them to. They're built with public funding, approved by elected officials, justified by data we accept without question. And they'll continue to exist and spread unless we ask the hard questions. What is justice? What is rehabilitation? What is the value of a human being? Not in theory. In practice. In concrete cells with purple lights and AI cameras. This is Osaka Detention House. This is February 2026. This is the future of incarceration. Unless we decide it isn't. The technology exists. The question is, will we use it to enhance humanity or erase it? The inmates in Osaka can't answer that question. They've been silenced. But you haven't. Not yet. In 2026, over 47,000 inmates are held in Japanese detention facilities. Approximately 30% have not been convicted of any crime. They are waiting. In silence.